Good morning, Habs Nation. Welcome back to the Habs Tonight channel. My name is Annik. I'm joined with Shayne, Marco, and Damon. Boys, we have a new GM. Kent Hughes. How are we feeling this morning?
Yeah, we don't have to speculate anymore. It's done. We don't have to throw around Patrick Roy, Mathieu Darche. Who's going to be? It's Kent Hughes. That's it. It's done,
That's it.
and it's Kent Hughes for 5 years. So you know what? I'm happy about that. We finally have a sense of direction. Um, Hopefully, there's a good chemistry between Hughes and Gorton. I believe there is, because if we remember, Gorton did draft Hughes' son in 2018 when he was with the Rangers, Riley Hughes. So hopefully there's already a connection there, and the connection will get stronger. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the noggin there, Shayne. I think for once we have some clarity, and it looks like the team. Well, right now I'm wearing my Habs Activity shirt for you guys to see, because for once we have some positive news to talk about. We see things going in the right direction. Right spelled with a W for those who might be wondering. But no, if for once, like, we have some sort of sense of direction with the club, and this is also the beginning of a new era in the Montreal Canadiens history. And I mean, I'm sure we'll be here. We'll be here for the ride to see what's going to happen in the future. But we're going to have a lot to talk about to see what kind of speculation is going to go on with the organization, what kind of structuring they're going to do with it. And we'll talk about that later. But no, this is some good news. It's good to have some clarification and some sort of positive aspects to talk about in some tough times that we've been going through as of recently.
I'm just really excited to see what happens with Kent Hughes, because Kent Hughes is a player agent and he's definitely good at negotiating, as he negotiates a lot of contracts for a lot of players such as Chris Letang. Darnell Nurse got him that $9 million, which is a really good contract for Darnell Nurse. He also is a player agent for Drake Batherson and many more, and I can't wait to see what he does, and also negotiating a lot of trades and hopefully leading to a lot of trade wins for Montreal and a great future here.
Yeah.
100%. Like, you boys nailed it. It's finally some positivity. We have a sense of direction. And like you said, Gordon has been on Kent Hughes' butt for a while now. And you even have guys like Darren Dreger who are turning around, dropping tweets like this here. He's got a very lucrative client list. The ownership has stepped up. He's been on Hughes for years. And the timing, it's perfect. So this is a great hire. Love to see it, and really excited to see what's going to happen. As we know, tomorrow we have a press conference with Gorton and obviously probably Kent Hughes, so he's going to make his first appearance. He's got a very, very long list of work ahead of him. It's not going to be done within the first few weeks. It's a couple of years easily in the process. So I want to get your thoughts on, first of all, his lucrative client list. We've spoken quickly about who's on his list, but Shayner, you have a bit more details for us as to who's available this season, at the end of the season, I should say, and who could Kent possibly bring with him as a client, maybe to the Montreal Canadiens organization.
Yeah, I feel like, when we were talking about Patrick Roy, Mathieu Darche, we kind of knew these guys already, but Kent Hughes is more unknown. So I feel like it's our duty here at Habs Tonight to inform you guys as to why this is a good selection. He has worked as a player agent for 25 years now. He's represented Vincent Lecavalier, right, who we know was a pretty damn good player. But right now, he just got rid of his clients, but he was representing Chris Letang, Patrice Bergeron, Darnell Nurse, Drake Batherson, Anthony Beauvillier, to name a few. Right. And there's two names there that stick out to me. Chris Letang, Anthony Beauvillier. Okay, Chris Letang is a free agent at the end of the season. And Anthony Beauvillier has had trade rumors around his name forever. So if those are two guys that he has good relationships with, right? Because let's not forget, an agent is not just an agent, it's also a friend. That's the guy who's negotiating your contract. So, you're kind of tight with them. So those are two guys I'd keep an eye on. And aside from the agent side, Kent Hughes has a pretty interesting connection to Jeff Gorton, as we mentioned earlier. Gorton drafted his son Riley, and in the upcoming draft, his other son Jack, yes, Jack Hughes, there's going to be two in the league now, is also projected to be an early first-round pick. So that's an interesting little conundrum there. If, the Habs fall maybe on the draft, we're in the section to draft his son. What is he going to do? anyways, that's a question for later. But yeah, overall, I think this is a fantastic pickup. And he is French, for everybody wondering. He's from Beaconsfield. Okay, don't freak out. He is French. He's got an English name. He lives in Boston right now, but it's okay. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of West Island represent for Kent Hughes there. That's where I'm from. But no, I mean, Kent Hughes is someone who's very well respected in the hockey world. He's worked as a player agent for over 25 years. And at the beginning, when Gordon had his initial press conference, he said that they'd be trying to kind of think outside the box when bringing their new GM. And this is definitely something that is outside the box. Having a player agent with no necessarily experience running any sort of team in management to represent the team. But a lot of people may be saying, okay, he doesn't have the management experience, but this is a good hire because I think it's very underrated, the kind of player connections that agents have, because agents are the ones that work directly with the players, right? So they know exactly the players' wants and needs. And when it comes time to contract negotiation, this is a huge asset that even Gordon talked about today. When bringing in new players or re-signing current players in the organization. So this is definitely going to be a huge underrated asset for the future, because we do know there is going to be some sort of restructuring in Montreal, and a lot of contracts are going to be dished out, a lot of new players potentially being signed, maybe Jack Hughes II, like you mentioned, Shayne. But no, this is a very underrated asset that I think the Habs could utilize to their advantage. And one thing also, Marc Bergevin he had such a tight connection with his players, which is one thing that is very, very good in the organization. It's something that's not talked about a lot, but something that's definitely important as a player. This is what you want. You want a tight connection with the organization. You want to be treated as a pawn. You want to be treated like a friend, like you mentioned. So having an agent there as well who works so closely with these players, I think you kind of replicate that kind of relationship that Bergevin had with his players during his time with the Canadiens. So I definitely think that's another positive that the Habs could utilize to their advantage. And yeah, I love the move right now. We'll see where it takes us in the future. But yeah, all positives for now.
Completely agree. Like, I woke up in a positive note, and I'm still staying on a positive note, and you guys just hit the nail right on the hammer. Or the hammer right on the nail, rather.
It all took a second for us to actually wake up and realize that it's the opposite. But just to touch a bit on the comments that we have here. So we've got a lot of people asking, first of all, who the hell is Kent Hughes? I know it's not a name that we're used to hearing, but listen, guys, it's a great move. If you know who he is, like Marco said, very well respected into the hockey world, and we're going to get to know him as well. If he's selected to be if he's selected to be the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, it's for a specific reason. It's not just a Joe Blow they took off the street and poof, here he is. There was a selective process of interviews that went on with so many people for so many weeks. So he's definitely bringing something to the table if he was picked, selected, and has a 5-year contract ahead of us. So let's give him the chance to settle down, start getting to work. It's not going to be done right away. Give the guy a chance. You're going to get to know him, and we'll see what happens in the long run. Shayne and I were talking yesterday on Auto de la Ligue, and Drew and I on the pregame show, we were saying, Molson said it from the start, it's going to be a two-headed monster, and this is where it's great for us. We have Jeff Gorton, who is so great. You can see what he did with the New York Rangers right now when it comes to trading and rebuilding. You got this guy who can do that, and then you're going to have the second head, which is Kent Hughes. He is going to be your contract guy, your free agent guy, anything that's going to come with signing guys. So you've got two guys that are going to be able to blend as one. Boom, we're set. Give the boys a chance to start getting to work. It's going to happen in the long run. I'm going to quote Bergevin here and say, trust the process. Or was it Michel Therrien? I don't even know who the hell said it. But Michel Therrien, here you go. Good old Mikey. Trust the process, okay? Give him a chance. We're going to go from there.
An underrated feature of agents is their recruiting, right? They have to look at young players and find the talent and then approach them to become their agent, right? So recruiting wise, he's also got an edge on a lot of people, a lot of candidates.
There you go.
Let's not forget, he's been in the business for 25 years now. Like, he has more experience. He has the most experience out of any of the potential candidates, right? So, of course, he didn't play in the NHL. He did play hockey, though. He played like AAA or junior. I don't know.
Yeah,
so
he played for the Lac St. Louis Lions here in the West Island.
There you go. So he
There
was
you
a
go.
good player. He never played in the NHL. Does it really matter? I mean, we always kind of gravitate towards the former players because we see guys like Steve Yzerman and Joe Sakic doing such a good job. But like, there's other GMs who have never played a game and they're doing pretty good too. So again, I wouldn't freak out. I would wait until the press conference tomorrow. That should give everybody a good insight as to what kind of guy he is. And still, we have 2 positions left to fill, right? Assistant GM and head recruiter. So we'll stay on the lookout for those 2 as well. But this is huge and good news.
Yeah, for sure. And we saw in the recent news that this sort of GM search was coming to an end. But not only that, the people who don't necessarily make that position will be considered for other roles in the organization. So we all know Mathieu Dash and Daniel Breyer were some of the front runners. So I don't think this is going to be the only news we might hear today for the Habs. I think maybe in the coming hours, maybe later today, even tomorrow, we might see someone taking the head scout position that Trevor Timmons once had. So I don't know. We'll see. That's another interesting news that will be surely we'll talk about it later. But no, there's a lot to come for this organization. We're heading in the right direction. A lot of positives to take out of this, and yeah.
So
Sorry, go
this
ahead,
comment
Jim.
here. Let's throw out some names. I mean, we've speculated enough about the damn GM. Let's speculate about the assistant GM now.
Could
do you
it
think,
be
guys?
Maybe Darsh and Briere.
I was gonna say you had second, third, fourth runners, so could it be one of those guys that would be filling in the shoes, or do you stick instead of having somebody who's completely new with a new vision? Do you stick with somebody who's already within the organization to keep a bit of the stability in, or do you go flat out new?
One of the candidates that was interviewed for the position was Émilie Castonguay, who is another player agent who represents guys like Alexis Lafrenière. And hell, you know, if we want to go out of the
Diversity.
box, something new, I'm all for that. I think she'd be fantastic. She's young. She knows her shit. I'd give her a contract tomorrow, but the good candidate still. I mean, there's plenty of fish in the sea.
I was also hoping for Kim St. Pierre because Kim St. Pierre is a great hockey mind, and also she was recently inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame, and also for diversity as well. And also, I know Danielle Goyette. I'm pretty sure she works for Toronto right now, but I do think either of them between Kim St. Pierre or Danielle Goyette would be good. But one thing I've also thought about is maybe just stealing one of Tampa Bay's maybe lower level staff members, because I recently did some research and I found out how Tampa Bay develops a lot of their talent. Like I know our Montreal channel will touch on this. For example, Tampa Bay helped out a lot of their prospects by hiring a lot of respected skills coaches, such as Braden Point. For example, we know that he's an elite #1 center at the league now. We know that his skating wasn't the best, but they got him the perfect skills coach, and that's why he's the player that he is now. And I'm hoping maybe we could get someone from Tampa Bay and then kind of follow a bit of their model when it comes to developing and building up talent, and then we could easily help a lot of our players become the top talent that they're able to become in the league.
100%.
Not opposed. Not opposed
at all. There's so many candidates that we can talk about, but like Shayne said, and they talked about adding diversity. So we've got Chantal Maccabe, who's the VP of Communications now. That congratulations, Chantal, from the Habs Tonight team, which is a huge asset, huge win. She's already on top of her game this morning, commenting on everything. Could we maybe see another woman being hired within the organization? Like you said, you got Kim St. Pierre, Castonguay. There's so many that you can think of. So maybe that's the other side of diversity that we see in the next couple of days, a women assistant GM, which would be the first in the league, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think it's possible. I mean, we know Gordon said it early on that he was looking to think outside the box and bring in some new heads and to kind of make a statement with all this. So I definitely see it possible to have a woman assistant GM, whether it be the guys you mentioned or Daniel Goyette. I think there's so many good candidates. And why not have an assistant GM that be a woman? First NHL, that definitely makes some headlines. A lot of talk about with the Habs. So, no, I definitely see it as a possibility. I think there's so many candidates, and whoever they choose, though, I know that the Canadiens will make the right choice. I trust their process, and yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to see from here on out.
So My next question for you guys is, like Shayne said again, we don't have a head of recruiting right now. And we discussed this yesterday. We thought it would be one of the first positions to be filled after Trevor Timmins was let go. Who do you see as your head recruiter right now? Any names come to mind?
Mine has always been Stéphane Leroux. I'm going to stand by that. He is my pick. I feel he's the best qualified guy for the job. For those who don't know Stéphane Leroux, he takes care of the juniors for RDS, right? Every single junior player, I'm sure he knows a ton about, and he covers the World Juniors. So he is probably the best junior player mind we have in the province. That's my opinion. But if he would leave his job at RDS, I would be ecstatic to have him on the team.
Yeah, I actually have an interesting sort of hire in my opinion. I know this might not be popular, but one person who I'd really like to see is Ted Nolan. I know he's currently not working in the hockey field right now, but I'd love to see him because he was a really good head coach and he was really good with his players. All his players liked him. And I do think if you put him with the young guys and maybe give him and he can help them develop and give them a taste of the NHL. And the thing is, when he was in Buffalo, when his last stint head coaching, he was kind of put in a bad position where the team wasn't really an NHL capable team, to put it nicely, in 2014-15. But I do think if you give him a chance with these young prospects and let him develop along with Gordon and Kent Hughes, I do think he'd be really good at the job. I know I don't know about his French-speaking language ability, but I do think he would be the right person for the job if he could learn French on the job.
Yeah, I think the person you mentioned, Shayne, Stéphane, they would be the most, well, in my opinion, they would be a good candidate. I mean, also we know Chantal Machabé, she came from RDS too, and RDS had no problem letting her explore her future careers, especially with the Montreal Canadiens. It's a hell of a thing to add on your resume. So I don't think RDS would have a problem letting them go if they were to come to the Habs, and it could be a good sort of reconnection with the RDS here at the Le Canadien de Montréal.
100%. 2 huge losses for RDS. If that's the case, they already have some big gaps to fill with Chantal being gone. So it remains to be seen, as we keep saying on this show. More speculation than anything right now. So again, tomorrow we will have the press conference with Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon. We're going to have a little bit more clearer picture as to what's going to be going on. But for right now, I want to speculate with you guys and talk about the Montreal Canadiens' future. So there's been talk about when Gordon did his presser, he said it's either, I'm not sure if it's going to be a rebuild. I'm not sure if it's going to be a restructure. We're just going to keep the way we're going right now and write it out. So I want to get you guys' take on, do you see the Montreal Canadiens heading towards a rebuild, a restructure, or writing it out?
I don't think it's time for a rebuild. I don't even think we can do a rebuild with the kinds of contracts we have. It's just going to be retooling. Move some guys, get picks, get younger guys, keep a good veteran core, and see how that works. But, I mean, in terms of moves, there's plenty that can be done. I don't know where to start. I mean, I guess if we look at Jeff Gordon has good relationships with Vitaly Kravtsov. Hope I pronounced that right. Probably didn't.
You did. Kravtsov, yeah.
Right on.
Here it is.
So he's definitely a guy that's available, and there's rumors that New York would be interested in Lehkonen. So if you can work something out there, there's the Sherratt case, who apparently can go for a first and maybe something more. There's a ton of guys that could move that we could get. I don't know where to start really. So much could happen.
Yeah.
Go
Go ahead,
Marco.
Damon.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that I think no, I don't think the Habs are in a position to really start from scratch. I mean, first of all, if you do end up doing that, I mean, there's still the future with Carey Price and Brendan Gallagher, who are the heartbeats of this team. And I don't think we're in a position right now where we need to start from scratch necessarily. We've been very, very unfortunate with injuries and COVID this season. So we haven't even had the chance to have our full team in the lineup to show everybody what we could do. And I mean, the veterans have been there when some of them have had off years like Petrie, but I definitely do think we have a good core, a good veteran core, like you said, Shayne. And we do have a lot of young pieces. I don't think we're in a position to re-scrap. I think you just need to tweak some things here and there, maybe sell some contracts. I definitely think Sherratt is somebody who could be going come trade deadline, sell high on him, and maybe a few other guys to get some draft picks out of them. I definitely think this next draft is going to be a big milestone in the Habs organization for the years to come. So I definitely think this draft will do all the retooling that's necessary. Maybe some free agent signings. We all know that Letang, one of Hughes's former agents, he's going to be a UFA this summer, as well as Thomas Hertl. So who knows who they'll bring in? Maybe Beauvillier also. He was on Hughes's list of contacts. He already knows these guys. So who knows? But no, I don't think they'll start from scratch. I think just a little bit of retweaking here and there. Next season we'll have Price back, and hopefully the rest of our players all healthy, and we could generate a threatening lineup with that.
I agree with both your points, but for me, I think right now we just need to ride out this season right now, because this season is, to put it nicely, is a write-off.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like you have 11 draft picks coming up this draft, which I'm pretty sure is the most draft picks out of the entire draft. We know Arizona's kind of competing with us for the most draft picks, as they have a lot of pieces to sell out well at the deadline.
Yeah.
And then I think depending on what you get at the draft, and as I'm sure we know, it's more than likely we get a first round pick for Sherratt as long as he stays healthy. Staying healthy is the key part. So I think if you get that first for Sherratt, and then if you can trade Kulak, you could trade potentially Paquette. He may not have been in the lineup even with all the injuries, but I do think a contending team would be willing to take him on as a 13th or 14th forward in that kind of role. Maybe if someone gets injured, he could find himself in that place, because he's been good in the playoffs for Tampa Bay, especially when it came to the 2020 run. And even the 2018 run when they went to the conference final and played Washington, he was one of their better players. So I could see maybe Paquette going, Weidman as well could also go, and even Perreault as well. There could be a lot of guys that I could see going right now. And then depending on who resigns, but then also what I do is I'd have a leadership meeting with maybe Carey Price, Paul Byron, Jeff Petrie, and the other leaders, and say, yeah, if get their opinions, maybe like consult with them. If we're going to do a rebuild, would you guys stick around or not? And then kind of leave it up to them, because I do think even if we don't rebuild and leave the team as is, I do think we're definitely a playoff team if we're fully healthy. But if not, I'm not sure that we can really be a playoff team, especially in a division that's this competitive. So I definitely think it's kind of 50-50. But for me, I personally always saw this year it's one step back, two steps forward next year. And next year, if we can manage to get a lot of good value for a lot of our guys, it might be the right time to rebuild, because the flat cap and we're not competing, and we're able to retain some salary in these tough cap constraints. But if the cap goes up a bit more, it might be easier just to contend, because we'll have the room and we'll be able to keep a lot of the guys on the roster. So for me right now, it's 50-50.
Yeah. And what do you guys think of Petrie's situation here? Because for me, like, I saw that John Klingberg from the Dallas Stars asked for a trade. And I mean, as soon as you see that, every GM needs to get on the phone and get on that topic, because John Klingberg has the potential to be, you know, a number one defenseman on a team. Like, he is good. Now, in Dallas' case, obviously Heiskanen's kind of taken that role, and, you know, Klingberg took a back seat. But Petrie, I mean, let's not, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but the way he's playing seems like he's playing to leave. He's not playing to stay, right? So I'd look into that situation.
For me, okay, let's all be honest. Jeff Petrie is not playing to his abilities that we know he's capable of. If you take a look at his previous seasons compared to this season, he is not the Jeff Petrie that we know. There's been a lot of speculation that maybe he should leave. Is now the right time to move Jeff Petrie? If you take a look at this season, I'm not basing his trade value on this season. I'm basing it off his previous seasons, which clearly is a great move, is a great trade asset. So I don't know. Is it the type of season where you're taking a look at what's going on and you're saying, listen, it's a write-off. We don't have the right players circling him. We don't have the right players on the ice. It's an AHL and a Terroir team right now, let's be honest. So is this what's going on with him? Is there an injury that we're not aware of? There's so many key factors here. So Do you take the chance of just writing it out this season and then see how he performs next season? If it's not against his abilities, you try to move him again. So I don't know. I'm personally not happy with what I'm seeing from Jeff Petrie. You can tell there's a little bit of animosity within him and Dominique Ducharme, which I want to ask you guys a little bit later on. Is there a bigger issue here? Is what's going on with him? We don't know. But for now, he's not playing like Jeff Petrie. So if there's an opportunity to move him for a guy like Klingberg, like you said, I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you there, Annik. I definitely think that Jeff Petrie's not playing at the level that we expect from him, at the level that we know he could play at. And we even look at other guys in the team apart from Petrie, like Caulfield hasn't had the same season that he had last season.
No.
Well, you could kind of consider him as a disappointment in some factors too, but I don't think we're not basing this season off Caulfield's value like we are with Petrie. So I don't think it's time necessarily to panic. I think that right now we just know that nothing's gone the way. And we know also Petrie, the whole season, he hasn't played with Emerson, who's his usual partner in crime.
Yeah.
And this season, he had to take a special role also with Weber being out. He had to step up as our quote unquote top option, right? Last season was a completely different story. So I definitely think this year for Jeff was kind of him being a victim of circumstance in Montreal. And right now, even if we do consider to trade him, his trade value isn't as high as it could be. So you would get a little less for someone like him. But I definitely think Klingberg would be a home run type player. And he'd automatically become like our best defenseman and one of our franchise players right away. But I was looking at the Klingberg situation, and he's trying his best to stay in Dallas as much as he can. He loves it there. His whole family's there. But him and the management can't come to an agreement simply on a contract. So if that persists and that continues to be a problem, then they're going to have no choice then but to unload him. And this is all we've been hearing in the news recently. So if I'm Montreal, I know we have a lot of young players and draft resources and prospects. I would try to maybe, if you do decide, okay, we're going to go for Klingberg, yeah, sure, you could throw in Petrie and a prospect or a draft pick, try to get him. But if not, I definitely think that next season will be kind of a rebound year for him. I definitely think that circumstances will be different. First of all, he'll get his D partner back in Edmonton. But no, I think you ride it out for the season. If you don't decide to go for Klingberg and you go from there next season, and he's also a leader on the team, let's not forget. So you will need these veteran guys to lead the young guys in the locker room. So we can't just start getting rid of all our veterans either. So there's a lot to consider, I think, when it comes to Jeff Petrie. If you don't decide to go for Klingberg, I think you ride out the season, and next one we'll definitely see some better hockey from him, the one that we know that he could play.
Let's hope so.
100%.
Damon, what do you think?
Like, I just think Petrie, of course, like I think he's may have been playing injured a lot this season, because we all, of course, remember in the Stanley Cup Finals, he was definitely playing injured. And of course, we remember against Winnipeg when there was that incident with the camera hold where him and Stasny went into it, and then he injured his fingers. And he didn't really have a long recovery time from that ending of that Stanley Cup Finals to the start of the season. It was less than 2 months. So I wouldn't be surprised if that had an effect on his play, and same with a lot of other guys on the Habs this year. So if their season goes according to plan and like COVID isn't really an issue as much this year and the season ends in April, he'll have longer time to recover. And I do think he can play back up to the form that he will play. For example, with Jeff Petrie, I remembered in 2019-20, the Carolina Hurricanes wanted a trade for him, and they offered us their first round pick, which ended up becoming Seth Jarvis. And they also offered us Jake Bean, who's now with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and he's filling into the second pair role there, along with Vlad Gavrikov. So I definitely think the value is there for Petrie when he's on his game.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it depends whether we rebuild or we choose to continue where we are right now.
100%. There's a lot of things to consider in the upcoming months and next year for sure. Before we log off, one subject that's been trending, Shayne and I talked about it yesterday, and I want to get you guys' point on it, is Dominique Ducharme's future behind the bench of the Montreal Canadiens. So is he our guy? Is he not our guy? Obviously this season, the popular opinion is you let him ride out the season. There's no point in firing him now and try to make a comeback. It's just not going to happen. Let's be honest. Do you wait and see who's available in the off season, or do you give him a chance to work with the new system next season? If it doesn't work afterwards, then you let him go. What's his future in Montreal, and is he the right guy?
Yeah. Dom has been a victim of circumstances this season, like injuries, COVID, all that. He hasn't had a full lineup, it seems like, the entire year. No, actually, he hasn't had the full lineup the entire year because Carey Price hasn't played a damn game. So, you can't really do miracles with the lineup that we have. But granted, the reason why we're speculating on Sham is because he has made some questionable decisions regarding, young players and, line combinations, all that. So, I think this season, it would be a bit absurd to let him go. I'm guessing Luke Richardson would step in as interim coach, but again, is it really worth it? Like, the season's scrap, might as well just let him right out. And then next season, I guess you give him a short leash, right? You give him expectations. If they're not met, then you start looking for other people. But again, who are the other people? Like, who are other coach candidates that have to speak French? I have none that come to mind. Like, Bob Hartley's in Russia. Guy Boucher, I would rather have him as an assistant coach than a head coach. So it's like, I don't know where to look. Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, I think they want to give Ducharme another year, and I'm all for that, simply because this season he's been juggling the lineup so much. He's been kind of just improvising it when you come to think of it, just because of how little options we have. And keep in mind, Carey Price is a player who he's our franchise player. He keeps us in every game this season, and we haven't even had our best player. It's kind of like taking a look at any other team without their franchise player, like the Penguins without Crosby, the Avalanche without McKinnon. It's completely different teams that we're looking at here. So I definitely think that next season, granted that we have all our pieces back and that we could generate a lineup similar to one that we had last year, you give him kind of a short leash, like you said, Shane, and you're like, okay, you have another year, prove yourself, because we know that this isn't the current lineup that Ducharme would want to have for the Canadiens. This isn't what he envisioned, and this isn't what clicks with the team, just because there's so many players coming in and out. The players themselves can't even build relationships or chemistry with the players that they are playing with on the ice because of everyone coming in and out of the lineup. So I think you give Ducharme another year to prove himself, be like, okay, this is your chance. You have all your bullets in your gun. Now go show us what you could do, what you had planned for this team. And if that doesn't work, then I think you look at other options, whatever those may be.
I completely agree. The thing that's kind of bothered me with Ducharme this year is he hasn't really given, in particular, Jake Evans the chance to step into the Phil Deneau role that I was hoping he would fill, because Jake Evans is pretty responsible defensively. And Jake Evans, of course, we know is the spark plug that he is. And I remember there was an interview, I don't remember which reporter from RDS asked him, why aren't you matching up Jake Evans against the top lines when you have lost change in home games? And he said because he doesn't think Jake is ready for it. But we're at the point where we know the season is pretty much a kind of a lost cause, to put it nicely. And I don't think it can really hurt Jake Evans if you give him that role to step up in and just match him up against the other team's top line players. If he makes those mistakes this season, he'll learn from them and get ready for next season. And Jake Evans definitely signed a new contract, 1.7 million average, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with the team in the future. But Dom, in my opinion, he just needs to play Jake Evans more. It's something that we all wish we'd do more, because watching him in person is more of a pleasure. I got to see him once in person, actually twice. But he has been such a fun player to watch. He's like a little Brendan Gallagher out there creating havoc all over the ice. And modern definition of defense is Jake Evans along with Armia and Lehkonen. Like, they keep the other team's top players locked in their own zone. And for me, I consider that a good defensive shift, because that's pretty much the other team's offensive zone shift wasted. And I really just wish Dom would play Jake Evans more and get more usage out of him. But I find he doesn't do that enough. And I feel in games where we might be able to win, I feel that's been costing us. And Dom just needs to play the kids more like Caulfield, in my opinion. If he's going to play up in the NHL, he can't be playing like maybe between 20 or like 13 minutes. He needs to play at least 30 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And I find he's utilizing Hoffman more on the power play than he is Cole Caulfield. I mean, when you know Caulfield's going to have the longer term future with the team, at least we hope, knowing our development track record. So we need to definitely leave Cole Caulfield on the power play and give him more time than Mike Hoffman, in my opinion. And give the kids just more time. I just feel that whenever, especially when it comes to 3-on-3 overtime, like I find it fun, like at least on one of my own hobbies is to make mock 3-on-3 rosters. But I find that depending on who's playing well, Dom might not give them any chance. Like Romanov has not gotten very many chances on the power play or in 3-on-3 overtime. Dom just giving it to more of the veterans such as Kulak or Sherratt, Petrie, or other guys. But in my opinion, Romanov and the other kids definitely need a lot more time.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Well said. And for my last question, I'm going to bring in a Habs Tonight legend here. We've got our very own Drew Dekes.
Bam.
Welcome, Drew.
Ba-da-boom.
You guys got to stop calling me a legend. You know what? Forget it. I am a legend. How about that?
You are a
Yeah,
legend.
you are.
You're a goddamn legend, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
How's
Just
it going?
kidding. It's going
How's
great.
the shoveling going?
The driveway is clear and we are ready for takeoff.
Boy.
We are ready for takeoff, folks, in case you're
Let's
wondering.
go.
Boy. So, Drew, first of all, I want to get your reaction on Kent Hughes being the new GM. We've been talking about it for about 36 minutes here, but I want to get your take on it. You and I touched on it quickly during the pregame, but officially, give me your official take.
My official take is I still know nothing about him. I'm not even going to try to BS my way through this. Absolutely nothing other than he's a player agent. And I did have one thought and only one because, again, I wasn't going to try to BS my way through a show. That's why I'm jumping in here at the end. But he's a player agent. So you have to hope that with what Jeff Gorton was able to do, he's got good relationships around the league and that they're going to try to go after the players they want. And it won't be as hard to acquire, hopefully, knowing it's Montreal especially. So that's my only real take on it, is that I hope for the sake of Mr. Hughes, he has great relationships around the league, great trust with players around the league and also other GMs, of course, very important. And I hope that he can swindle the deals that he needs to get this team either to start rebuilding or retooling, whatever, but just make the team better. And however long you need to do it, take your time, man.
Yeah.
Very well said. Which brings me to my next roundtable question, which you guys can touch on here. So we talked about Dominique Ducharme. Drew, I don't know if you heard. We talked about Dominique Ducharme and his future in Montreal. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? How many chances is the guy going to get? So we've come to the conclusion that he's on a short leash. You write it out. You see what happens. My next question for you boys is, if Dominique Ducharme stays and you keep him on a short leash, do you make changes when it comes to defensive coaching and special units? Because that's an issue this season. Do you give Burrows another shot? Like, who's your choice? What do you do with that situation? There needs to be a spark. There needs to be a change. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah. I personally really love Burrows and Luke Richardson at their positions. So I don't know, this season I don't think is a good sample of what they're capable of. I mean, when we brought in Burrows to replace Kirk Muller, you saw the difference right away. I mean, the power play was going because we had a healthy team. With Richardson, I mean, last season we had an insane penalty kill. This season, obviously, not so much. But given a healthy and good squad, I have my trust in them fully.
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of circles back to the whole aspect of having a healthy team. Of course, that makes things a lot easier. But at the end of the day, when it comes to special teams, especially, I think that's a lot of tactics. And we do have a lot of young talent on this roster in our organization. So technically speaking, those guys should also be able to step up in those roles and go along the sort of tactics that are involved in the special units and execute. And although they might not deliver to the same extent that our healthy lineup would, they should still be able to deliver. I mean, we look at our penalty kill. I think it's third last in the league. Last time I checked, 30th. And our power play is not threatening at all this season. We barely score on the power play this season. So I think we also have to do Ducharme's kind of on a short leash here. Like, I would say that the special teams unit guy especially would be on an even shorter leash. You imagine a 6-inch leash for Ducharme. How about like a 2-inch one for this guy now? I think that once you have we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and we'll say, okay, hasn't had a healthy team. So we'll give him that opportunity next season, I think. But early on in the season, if we see that things aren't clicking on the penalty kill and on the power play, I think it's time to go a different direction and give him the boot.
Yeah.
100%.
Can I
Fully agreed.
ask a question, Annik? Just I know I'm kind of interrupting
Go
here,
nuts.
but just for the viewers that are just jumping on here, because it looks like the viewers have increased in the last little bit here. I wasn't on the stream when the Kent Hughes announcement was made, and you guys all gave your take on it. So, is there any new information about Kent Hughes that is still fresh that maybe viewers don't know about yet?
Shayne, you're going to be my guy to answer that.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything other than there's going to be a press conference tomorrow with Gorton, with Molson, I believe, and obviously Hughes. But other than that, yeah.
Any initial? What were your first impressions though when you heard about him though?
I was happy. I mean, JD is actually, we'll give credit to JD because he was pushing Kent Hughes for a while. So JD, shout out to you. But
cool.
I trust JD's opinion, and JD was very high on Kent Hughes. So I obviously didn't know too much about him before. I did a bit of research, and he seems to know his stuff pretty well. So seems like a good deal to me.
The player agent thing must be a positive, right? That's been coming to mind, because you're thinking about acquiring players, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago. And if you're going to do that, you need to have a good, solid reputation around the league. Gorton's going to do his thing behind the scenes, and Kent Hughes is just going to complement that relationship, right? In terms of him and Gorton, trying to acquire the right players, the right picks to put a winning team on the ice again, right? So, I mean, we're going to learn more tomorrow. I think we're going to try, I don't know if you guys mentioned it to the audience or not, but we're going to try to put out a show tomorrow reacting to the press conference. So whoever's available, I mean, we'll try to put something together for the fans, and hopefully we have a lot more information from Kent Hughes as he speaks tomorrow. So that'll be good.
Agreed.
Yeah, we're going to try to get something for you guys for sure. It's going to be pretty exciting to finally hear from the front office. We finally have a little bit more clarity. We do not need to keep speculating on who the new GM is. And
thank God.
Yeah, we were having fun with it though. Let's be honest.
So glad
it's going to be great. Listen, we've been going for almost 45 minutes here. We don't want to keep you guys for too much longer. So we have a game tonight. Last night's game was it was something.
The usual.
Let's just leave it at that. It's we got Gallaghered once again. So, it's officially a verb now. Tonight we're playing Dallas Stars. So just before we log off, just want to get you guys' take on it as a quick little pregame here. How do we feel about it? Who's going to be in nets? Any predictions? I don't even know.
Primo versus Ottinger, from what I understand right now. It's definitely going to be, I don't mean Primo, I mean Monty versus Ottinger, and I definitely think it's going to be a fun matchup because this is the first time Montreal and Dallas are meeting since 2019, I'm pretty sure it was. It's because the pandemic essentially put a long pause on time. So definitely going to be a fun one in my opinion, because we're the last two teams to play Tampa Bay in the Stanley Cup Finals, and we're the last two teams that Corey Perry played on before he went to Dallas. So yeah, and also I find our teams have had similar builds because we do have a good mix of good veterans and good youth. So I definitely think this could easily be a battle of the youth. Hopefully Cole, I've been praying he gets another one. I've been praying at night. So hopefully he gets the next one tonight and gets that lucky balance and gets on a roll. So definitely going to be a really close one in my opinion, and a really fun game to watch.
Yeah, I definitely think it's something to look out for, just because we know Dallas has been kind of on a roll lately. We know they could put up the points in any given game. One key note is that Jason Robertson is a very questionable game time call tonight. That guy is a game changer for Dallas. Such a great young talent. And
former Niagara Ice Dog.
Yeah, shout out to the Ice Dogs. But definitely if they're without Robertson, I mean, that's already a positive for us. I mean, our lineup's already damaged as is. We'll take what we could get, right? But no, I think if you have Montebo in net, I personally have a little bit more confidence with him than Primo, so I think that's one positive. And another thing, we were talking about this earlier, keep an eye on John Klingberg, because who knows what the future has in store for him. We'll
Future
battle there
Montreal
between
Canadiens.
hopefully, fingers crossed. We would love to see it, but yeah, we'll see how him and Petrie both do battle off against each other there. But I definitely think it'll be an entertaining game. If Robertson's out, all the better. But yeah, I think the Habs really need to be strong defensively tonight because, as we mentioned, the Stars could get it going at any point. So you can't give these guys any freebies. Can't take any dumb calls because we were talking about it too. Penalty kill has been less than optimal this season. We can't give, especially Dallas's power play, we can't give him any freebies. Can't give him any freebies on the ice. Limit the turnovers, limit the penalties, and I think we'll hang in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Shane.
I mean, my expectations are low. I'm not looking forward to anything really. I hope that some of our injured guys can come back and make their way into the lineup and see some familiar faces. Hopefully Byron some point, Toffoli, all that. That's really all I'm looking forward to. That's it.
We talked about it yesterday quickly, Drew and I, on the pregame. We're such good fans and big fans of this game and this team that it's going to be impossible for us to wish that we tank. Obviously, a little part of us inside is saying, listen, if we lose, it's better for us. We're closer to a first round pick. It's obviously a feeling, but we're never going to wish for the team to lose. So I think the mutual feeling here is that we just hope that we see some kind of effort, some kind of progress, and something to look forward to. We just don't want to see the boys just not put any effort and getting blown out of proportion again, So as long as we see a little bit, that's what matters for me.
Two quick positives from yesterday's game. I mean, the Pitlicker himself, Rem Pitlick, ladies and gentlemen, scored a goal. Let's go. Let's go, Rem Pitlick.
Pit stop.
The pit stop shirt coming at habstonight.net. Thank you very much. But
I'll get you one.
But seeing Poehling get a PP goal and the season that he's having, like, we can zero in on, and he's friend of the show, Ryan Poehling. We message him a lot when he scores, just because we love the guy. He's just
his tires.
He responds, he says thank you all the time. He really appreciates the support every time we shoot him a message. So I am and I see why Dale was such a big Ryan Poehling fan before this season started. And it's very clear that he's just such a good dude. And now he has the right headspace to make the progress that he's needed to. So Ryan Poehling, shout out to him for standing out in a season where it's hard to stand out. So I'm happy to see him do, whatever good that he can, because again, it's really reaching for positives this season. So stories like him, Pez, Romanov, there's a few guys that are just making their little statements here and there, and those are nice to focus on despite all the negatives. So
just one more thing that just came to mind is we've been talking a lot about Pizzetta. I mean, the lightest man has been my guy from training camp. Everybody knows this. So yep. I just want to touch on this quickly because it's been pissing me off for 24 hours. Is this guy works his nuts off every single game, and he's saying, I have something to prove. I need to prove that I belong on this team. And from training camp, I have not changed my style from day one. Scores an awesome goal, and then boom, F you, he's sitting in the stands.
Yeah.
So is he back in the lineup tonight, or do you just keep not putting him in because he's not putting effort? Pisses me off.
Yeah. Put him in for Armia. Let's go.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have an axe to grind with Armia. That's but I mean, like,
that extension is looking a little right now. But you know what? It's just a victim of circumstance too. But at the same time, no, people are working harder than Yoel Armia. Let's just tell it like it is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even Laurent Dauphin, I didn't particularly like his game yesterday. If he gets in a groove, he is a good player. But I feel like Pizzetta deserves a spot tonight's game. You got nothing to lose, really. Like you're not fighting for a playoff spot. Just let him play. And I mean, to me, he's got a spot on my roster next year. Like he's cemented on the fourth line for next year, and I want him on my team. That's a guy we can keep for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love the grind that Pizzetta gives every single game, especially like a season like what we've been having. His effort has been phenomenal, and he gets involved not only on the score sheet, but we see him, the type of physicality that he brings, the intensity. He's not afraid to drop the gloves either. He dropped the gloves with Ryan Reeves this season. I mean, who would have the balls to do that, right? So I mean, I think, and he even I think we covered this on one of our post games, Shane, and the Florida one, where he tried the little between the legs. I mean, this guy plays with a lot of flair, real entertaining to see. And I mean, I think he's such a versatile player. I know that JD talked about this, and I fully agree with him. I think we have a mini Dale Weiss on our team with Ryan with the Pizzetta. And I think he hit the hammer on the nail on that one. And I definitely think if you want to win the game, if you want any sort of chance, I think you got to have Pizzetta in the lineup. So yeah, bring him in there.
He's earned a spot 100%.
For sure.
Listen, let's wrap up here. And just to touch on this comment here. So this is what this video was all about. We gave our live reactions, but to summarize to our new viewers and to people who have just logged on, this is a great hire for the Habs. We've got a 5-year contract for Kent Hughes here. Double-headed monster for the Montreal Canadiens, a guy who knows the agents, who is an agent who knows the players. He's got a great sheet. He's got an awesome record. He's never played in the NHL or been a GM, but he's got the opportunity here to make a name for himself even more in the hockey world, especially working with Jeff Gorton. So great hire for the Montreal Canadiens. We at Habs Tonight are all excited to see what's going to happen. And tomorrow we're going to have the presser with hopefully both guys in the front office. So we're going to try to put a show together for you guys right after the press conference. I know I'm going to be available. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to put a show together for you guys and give our thoughts and share what happened. So boys, thank you so much for taking the time to log on here today. It's greatly appreciated. And to our fans, thank you so much for joining us. Please press the subscribe button, like, share, get some merch, habstonight.net. And Drew, you seem like you have something to say.
How can you tell?
I just know you. I know you.
We just feed off each other. We just know.
Vibe.
We know each other well. We got vibes. Okay, so I wasn't sure if this was shared or not already, but I thought this was interesting from Pierre LeBrun. The timeline, guys, if I may, I'm just going to share this with you guys. The timeline for Kent Hughes hiring, really interesting stuff here. Interviewed with the Habs last Monday, met with Jeff Molson on Saturday night in Boston, took the weekend to make sure he was ready to change careers, and then negotiated his contract well into Monday night, which was last night. So a short timeline. This shows to you that Jeff Molson was really interested and he sees the value that Kent Hughes is going to bring. So I think that's interesting and hopefully more exciting news for Montreal fans here.
Wow.
100%. 100%.
That's all. That's all I got.
That's all you got? You sure?
Yeah, I think so. I swear.
Yeah. Perfect. Again, boys, thank you so much for logging on. To the fans, thank you so much for sticking with us for all the comments. We appreciate you and we appreciate the feedback, the comments, and everything. So we will see you tomorrow after the press conference with the Montreal Canadiens front office. Again, Kent Hughes is our new GM. We can be excited about that, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers. Guys.
Peace.